Day 5 has just gotten underway at the time I'm recording this, but I want to take this time to talk about the players who have impressed me the most at this year's Australian Open. That begins with Tomas Machac, the young Czech player who pulled off one of the biggest upsets we've seen in the tournament thus far, beating Frances Tiafoe, the number 17 seed, in straight sets. And usually when you see a score line that is as one-sided as that, albeit all 3 sets were close, especially when the favorite lost, usually you can look and point to some sloppiness, some errors by the player who lost, especially when they're the favorite. Not really the case in this one. That's how well Tomas Machac played. He won this match way more than Tiafoe lost it. Because if you zoom in on the big moments, which I'll do in a moment, you see a lot of brilliance from Machac. You're not going to find a lot of errors from Tiafoe in the big moments. 46% of the total points that Machac won in this match were his winners. Almost half the points he won in the match were his winners. That's amazing, especially for a guy who only hit 10 aces. Because usually when you see a number that drastic, it's coming from a serve bot who's cracking aces all the time. Machac only had 10. In the second set, he was down 40-love twice. In both games, he broke Tiafoe. He was down 40-love. So you'd think Frances must have lost focus. Frances must have made a couple of mistakes in those games, losing his serve from 40-love up, right? No. Tiafoe didn't make a single unforced error to blow either of those leads. Machac just came up with great offense, paralyzing offense. In fact, the 1-all game in the second set that that Machac broke was probably the best return game you'll see in the tournament. Yeah, I don't think that's an exaggeration. Machac came up with 5 straight winners in this game. A backhand down the line, absolute scorcher. A forehand down the line winner, which was a return. A return of serve, forehand down the line winner from the alley. A backhand down the line return winner. He was very deep in the court. Tiafoe decided to serve and volley because of that, and Machac hit a winner. And then a forehand cross-court return winner off of another wide serve. So he did it again, only this time he went cross-court, where on the last return he went down the line and hit a winner off the return. And then to close the game, he hits a massive return, this time deep, right down the middle. Steps in on the next ball, backhand down the line approach. Tiafoe hits a really good passing shot, and Machac just stretches out with his backhand volley and angles it off for a winner. Excellent volley. I mean, come on. It literally doesn't get better than that. He does the same thing again at 4-all with a great return off of a Tiafoe serve and volley, a forehand down the line winner, a backhand return that is so deep and so hard that it forces the error. Came back from 40-love, won it after a couple of deuces to break serve. You look at the mini breaks, if we go to the third set tie break, as Tiafoe was still fighting pretty hard. And I got to give Foe some credit. I was critical, very critical of Tiafoe's mental game after he lost to Shelton at the U.S. Open. I just don't think he stayed positive. I don't think he competed as hard as he could have in the fourth set against Ben Shelton. I thought he kind of wilted and started just getting a little sulky and let Shelton run away with that fourth set. Not the case in this one. I think Tiafoe continued to stay pretty positive and keep the energy up. Yeah, he was frustrated by how well Machac was playing, but who wouldn't be? So it goes to this third set tiebreak. And what does Machac do to get the first mini break? He hits one of the better shots I've seen all tournament long. Tiafoe was moving him sideline to sideline. Machac with some sliding backhand defense, but it landed in the middle of the court. So Tiafoe attacks the next ball, laces a forehand inside-in approach shot, which is a good one. And Machac going backwards, sliding again, somehow comes up with an 82-mile-per-hour forehand down the line, passing shot winner, landed just inside the sideline. As good a passing shot as you'll ever see. Tiafoe did get the mini break back. Machac on the second one drove a second serve return through the middle, stepped in and hammered a backhand down the line. Tiafoe defended. Machac redirected the next ball, forehand down the line, very precisely, just inside the sideline. At this point, Machac comes forward. Tiafoe hits a really good low slice passing shot. And Machac goes down to knee level to hit this volley and strikes it beautifully into the open court to force another error. Machac did not blink at any point. There were no signs of nerves at any point. He stayed aggressive all the way through. It was as good a performance as you will see, period. He won that match a lot more than Tiafoe lost it. And I just don't know. I saw him in January last year at United Cup, Tomas Machac, and I thought, oh, wow, he's really good. I think he'll finish inside the top 100. I was wrong about that. At this point, he has to be inside the top 50 in the next 18 months. I just don't understand it if he's not. I understand that he probably just played the best match of his life, and that was not his normal level. I get that, but he's just got everything. If you boil down the basics of baseline tennis, forehand, backhand, movement, defense, attack, I mean, Machac shows that he can do everything at a pretty high level. He's got a net game as well, and it's not as if his serve is powder puff. So, I mean, Tomas Machac, most impressive performance I've seen at the Australian Open this year so far, his win over Frances Tiafoe. Now I want to go back a couple days to day 3 of the first round, Monday. This was the hottest day of the Australian Open so far. It was the only day where heat has really played a big factor. It was only 86 degrees Fahrenheit. I believe that's 30 degrees Celsius. But the humidity must have been really high because you could see that everybody was basically dying out there. I want to give a shout out to 2 players. One, Jack Draper, who won a 5-set match against Marcos Giron, where, look, the heat got to him. There's no doubt about that. It was really tough for him. And, he could barely move. At the end of the 3rd set, it looked like he was totally done, but he left the court, took a medical timeout, and basically got a second wind physically, dominated the 4th set, and then played really great tennis down the stretch of the 5th set, won the match. Again, really high quality at the end, shook Marcos Giron's hand, and then ran to the trash, or the bin, as some would say, and threw up, like immediately. And he came up with a really good shot on match point. I must say, I don't think I have ever, in all my life watching tennis, I don't think I have ever seen that quality of shot followed by puking in under 1 minute time span. Don't think I've seen it. I have seen puking. I have seen good tennis. I don't think I've seen it that close together. Do I make myself clear? The next one, also that day, Holger Rune plays Yoshi Nishioka. Again, I think both players struggle with the heat in this match. But it must be said that for Holger Rune to win a pretty long, physical, 4-set match in hot conditions, that was a question mark for him. Just like it was a question mark for Draper. So were Rune and Draper unbelievable in these matches? Were they dominant performances? No. But I just think it should be said that coming into the year, if you give me 2 guys, if I ask the question, who are 2 guys who need to prove that they can win a physical match on a hot day outdoors, I think Rune and Draper would probably be the 2 most popular answers. So just them getting through it. And I will add, Nishioka, he's supposed to be a backboard. he wasn't. I don't think Nishioka played well. Who knows if Rune comes through, if he's up against a player who could bring, who brought a little bit of a higher level. Maybe that would have been trouble. But both of them get through. Good job to both of them, because they answered some questions, at least on that particular day, about their ability to win long physical matches in hot conditions. Okay. The other match from that day I want to talk about is Grigor Dimitrov. And I won't get into crazy detail in terms of the tactics of the match, even though it was a very interesting match. I'll just say in general, Marton Fucsovics is a terrible first-round opponent. Awful. And one of the most impressive streaks that was being upheld was Marton Fucsovics was on a 6-match win streak when he played seeded players in the first round of majors. So 6 times in a row, drawing Marton Fucsovics, if you were a seed at a major, was a death sentence. And I'm going to read them off. It was Denis Shapovalov at the 2020 Aussie, Daniil Medvedev at Roland Garros in 2020, Sinner at Wimbledon in 2021, Cressy, retirement at the U.S. Open, Talon Grigspor at Wimbledon last year. I think Grigspor was also playing really good tennis at the time. He had won a title, right, in Hertogenbosch, if my memory serves. Korda at the U.S. Open last year also lost in the first round of Fucsovics in a 5-setter. Like, this guy's just a terrible player to draw in the first round. So Dimitrov lost the first set. Slow start for him. He said he had trouble adjusting the conditions initially, and then he started to kind of figure it out. Oh, my decoration back there went down. There we go. So that's what Dimitrov said. Ultimately, Grigor also made some good tactical adjustments. He started slicing his backhand more. It was really important because Fucsovics was getting a lot of joy going to Dimitrov's backhand, getting the drive cross court, and then kind of working his... Fucsovics got a lot of joy hitting runaround forehands in this match until Dimitrov started slicing the ball, and then he got less joy out of it. But at the end of the day, it was a physical KO. That's how Dimitrov won the match. In the end, Fucsovics completely fell off physically. And Marton Fucsovics is, like the fitness monster. It's kind of what he's known for. It's kind of his calling card. It's very hard to get him tired. What does it say about Dimitrov's fitness? That he got Fucsovics to that point, and he was okay. He handled the heat probably as good as I saw anybody handle the heat that day. The only person who I've ever seen make Fucsovics tired is Djokovic. Again, U.S. Open. I don't know if it was a first round match. I forget. It might have been first round. But Fucsovics Djokovic at the U.S. Open in 2018. Fucsovics took a set and then he collapsed physically, got super tired, and that was it. So Dimitrov, Novak, only guys I've ever seen get Marton Fucsovics tired. Last one, Alex de Minaur. Yes, Alex de Minaur, his performance in the second round against Matteo Arnaldi. I thought this was going to be an amazing match. It wasn't. Well done to de Minaur for kind of shutting that down. There were a couple of keys here that I thought de Minaur utilized to get the edge. One, I just feel like the style of ball that de Minaur hits was really hard on Arnaldi's forehand. Like, when the ball sits up for Arnaldi, he has this really big forehand, but I do think it takes a lot of time to produce, and I do think it's better from high contact points. And I just think with Demon's depth and his flatness, it just felt like Arnaldi couldn't really take a big cut at the ball. Demon does this to some guys, and Medvedev does it. And like anybody, Djokovic does it a little bit. Anybody who hits really deep and hits really flat can make it hard on these big forehands because it just feels like they're almost hitting baseline half volleys all the time, and they don't have any height to work with. It's just skidding through the court. And That was what I sensed in so many of these baseline rallies, is that Arnaldi was just not getting anything to hit. Another real key was de Minaur's backhand down the line, because Arnaldi, he really wanted to hit inside-out forehands, really wanted to. And de Minaur just wouldn't let him. Like, anytime Arnaldi hit one forehand inside out, Demon was just bunting the ball down the line with his backhand. And I'm sure you can visualize that. Like, it's not an aggressive backhand down the line, because it's really hard to change direction off of you know, a lot of these harder and higher quality balls. But Demon is pretty much able to do it off of any ball. You know, maybe not with aggression, but he's got that short, abbreviated backhand where he can redirect basically on command. And he was doing it right away at every opportunity. So Arnaldi was constantly, after every forehand, either from the middle of the court or the backhand side of the court that Arnaldi was hitting inside out, the next ball Arnaldi had to hit was always forehand moving to his right. And that just, again, it made it really hard for him to construct points in a way where he was dictating with his forehand. What he wants to do is forehand inside out, then maybe bigger forehand inside out, then maybe finish forehand inside in or something like that. But he wants to hit forehands from the middle. He wants to hit runaround forehands. What he doesn't want to do is hit running forehands and then hit backhands on the next ball. And that's what he was having to do. Big serving gap. Demon hits his spots. Arnaldi, this was kind of the first time I put his serve under a microscope, and it definitely needs some work. Doesn't hit his spots, but it is big. And that's why I've never really scrutinized Arnaldi's serve much, because I look at it and I say, oh, he's got some pop there. But against great returners, he's going to need to hit his spots better. But Demon served much better than him. It got to a point where Arnaldi definitely got a little anxious on the backhand. It looked like he felt like he needed to do a lot with it. And that's the ground stroke on the court that was leaking errors. Demon was finding it a lot. And there was a certain point in time where I think de Minaur just got Arnaldi to overplay. Arnaldi didn't emotionally panic, but he tactically panicked because he just couldn't find a path to victory against de Minaur. So really, really great performance from the Demon. That is all I got. Most impressive players at the Australian Open this year. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.